Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice of radio. So today, we need to have a look at celebrations. You see, just about the time celebrations were starting to be sold a little bit early, which was naughty incidentally, I told you to stop buying singles for celebrations. And the reason I told you that was because the singles prices on release, given a little bit, would absolutely crash. Well, great news, ladies and gentlemen, because the singles prices have absolutely crashed. And it's wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. It is wonderful. So let's go and look at a few examples of some of these cards and quite how low it's actually gone and gotten. So, I told you about the Flying Pikachu VMAX and Surfing Pikachu VMAX, and I told you that people in the UK were spending like £30 on these cards before release. And I saw them selling for £30 before release. So now the set's out and these VMAXs are all actually out there. What are we looking at in terms of price? And the answer is not much, like at all. It's not going great. I mean, there's a run of 3 of them here. There is a Surfing Pikachu VMAX that sold for £3.80, a Flying Pikachu VMAX that sold for £3.40, and a Flying Pikachu VMAX that sold for £3.80, which incidentally looks to be the same person that sold the Surfing Pikachu VMAX. So yeah, they're routinely selling for like £4. People are spending £30 on these cards, and these cards are now routinely being sold for £4. Or actually less than £4. Honestly, if you paid £4, you've paid slightly over the odds. And I do find this funny, and I'm sorry because I told you this all the way along. Don't buy singles on release or before release or on a pre-release, because that's how you end up spending way too much. I mean, there's a couple of auctions from yesterday as I record this that sold in the US. We have got a Surfing Pikachu VMAX and a Flying Pikachu VMAX and a Flying Pikachu V and one of the Full Art Pikachu, and they all sold for $6. And then there's another one which had 2 Flying Pikachu VMAX and a Flying Pikachu V that sold for $3, which is actually even cheaper than the UK listings I just showed you. These VMAXs, and to be fair, there's a hint of the Full Art Pikachu in there as well, they're selling for like nothing. Like at all. They are ridiculously cheap cards. And they should be. Because now, weirdly enough, all the packs of celebrations I opened a single VMAX. It was very strange, but most people pulled far more than I did. They're really not that rare. They are really rather cheap. Another one that was seeing a whole bunch of hype before release was the Full Art Professor's Research. And again, people were paying around about £30 for this one. So how much is it selling for? Like £3. Here's a couple listings from this morning, and I'm recording this at 10:22 in the morning, and already this morning we've had one sell for £2.49, one sell for £2.36, and one sell for £3.20. Now, I'm slightly upset about this, because I pulled 8 of these, and I'll be honest with you, I sent one to a friend, and postage at this stage is not far off what it actually costs to buy the card. I mean, if we look over in the US, it's selling for slightly more, but really not very much. You know, we got 3 listings in a row here for $4, $6, and $5.68. Which admittedly is ever so slightly more, but you know, over in the US, this is like a solid $5 card. And remember, if you're buying these on Facebook groups, and do be careful buying on Facebook groups, you don't get the same protection. I'm giving examples. Be extremely careful. Do not trade with or buy from anyone you do not trust on a Facebook group for pretty obvious reasons. eBay might not be great, but at least there is buyer protection. They don't care about sellers, but there's pretty good buyer protection. And always, 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 always Pay goods and services, not friends and family, not Venmo, not bank transfer. No. Make sure it's something like goods and services PayPal that actually gives you buyer protection. But if you are over there, you won't pay this much. You'll be picking these cards up for even less. All right then, what about the Gold Mew? Okay, Gold Mew is actually holding on to a little bit of value. Now, bearing in mind this is by a huge margin, and I mean a huge margin, the rarest, most difficult to pull card in the set. By a gigantic margin. It's still not horrendous. I mean, over in the UK, we've got sold listings going on here for £40, £56 and £60, which I know is actually a decent amount of money, don't get me wrong. But again, this is I've showed you the VMAXs, right? I've showed you the Full Art Professor's research. This is the only card in the main set which has achieved any kind of value. The only card in the main set which is worth anything more than a couple of quid, and it's like 40, 50 quid. Which is really not that horrendous. Now, over in the US, it generally tends to be selling for about $70, although, like we can see on the screen, there are some that are selling for a little bit less. It's not always $70, but that seems to be a pretty good baseline there. But again, in the main set, that is literally the only card that is giving any kind of value. Moving over into the Classic Collection, there are several of them, and again, all of these were selling for ridiculous prices before release, and honestly, there are a bunch of them which have just gotten to the point where they're not really worth much at all. I mean, we can have a little bit of a look at Claydol here. There are two listings for £2 and £2.50. Claydol is really not one of the main ones. I mean, my boy Donphan, I love Donphan. It's not quite the least sought after. I was kind of hoping it would be for fairly obvious reasons. But having said that, picking it up for around about a £5, it's really not that difficult. We can look at Team Rocket Zapdos, which is another one that I thought was going to be a lot more popular than it actually is. And again, you can pick that up for around about £4. I mean, for most of these Classic Collection cards, you can pick them up for about the price of a booster pack. They are really not holding much value at all, which incidentally is a great thing, because it means completing your collection is going to be a lot cheaper. Now, as we know, because I showed you the most expensive cards from Celebrations the other day, there are two cards in Celebrations that are actually holding value at a decent clip. That being Umbreon and Charizard. And if we have a look at the moment, Umbreon, about 45 quid seems about right. It's not ideal, that is obviously more than we'd like to pay for singles, but about £45 seems to be about where we are. I don't like it, as I'm sure you guys don't, but that's where we are. Now, if we go back to the 6th of October, bearing in mind Celebrations officially released on the 8th of October, there are two sold cards. Well, let's look at a run of 4 sold cards, right? There are a run of 4 sold cards here for £200, £150, £250 and £190 on the 5th and 6th of October, which was a couple of days before the set actually released. People were paying £100 to £250 for a card that seems to be settling at about £40, £45. That's ridiculous. Those people, unless they sent them over to PSA to get them graded super quickly and ended up managing to flip them for way more money, they got totally ripped off. And they have nobody to blame but themselves, because these cards were always going to crash in value the moment the set actually released. And I made a video telling you this, and that is exactly what's happened. So there's one more card we need to have a little bit of a look at before we finish here, and it needs to be the Charizard, because again, that is the other one that is holding a bit of value. And this one, unfortunately, you will still be spending a bit of money on this one. There's not much I can do about this one. This one is not hideously cheap. It's also super annoying to try and search for sold listings on eBay, because we've got both Lantis Charizard and all those people that list Elite Trainer Box Charizard? And I'm just like, give it a rest, mate, all right? Give it a rest. But if we look at the two most recent solds, one came in at £104, and the other one, well, it was 170, but it was a best offer accepted. So let's say we're talking somewhere in the region of just over £100, which is obviously like not ideal. Not even a little bit. However, like we did before, if we go back to the beginning, if we look at the time when Celebrations was actually released, if we look at the pre-release numbers, things are significantly more expensive, shall we say. I mean, it's hard to find the exact numbers because of best offers accepted, but we had 4 in a row for 280 best offer, 240 best offer, 240 best offer, and 255 that actually sold. So I think it's fair to say you're talking 200 to 250 quid. So okay, fine, nowadays you might have to spend somewhere in the region of £100 to get yourself a Charizard, but given that they were selling for over 200 just a couple of, and we are literally talking 2 weeks ago, yeah, there are a bunch of people out there who should feel a little bit silly because they went and jumped on pre-release cards, and I told you guys all the signs. I try and be as honest with you as I can. I try and give you the best information that I can. All the signs we had were that Pokemon were really going in terms of supply and printing and really making an effort to make these cards more available than other equivalent sets in the past. And what we've seen, and I'm not saying every single product has been perfectly available in every single store or anything silly like that, but I am absolutely telling you that the amount of Celebrations out there and the ease to buy it is significantly more and significantly better than in the past. So there we go. Celebration singles prices have well and truly crashed, and I, for one, am absolutely delighted. But now I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what Celebration singles you've got. I want to know which Celebration singles you need. I want to know if you have been able to pick up any singles and how much you've paid. Did you get a good deal or not? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.